today, and that's our Blackjack CX. We're going to do a brief overview. We're going to look at certifications applied to this product, some basic specs. We're going to talk about the hardware, specifically the PoE, Spectrum and DW Cloud on the CX, some utilities that are in there, any special features, accessories. We're going to talk about DW promotions, and then we'll have our Q&A. So and there's still people pouring in. Wow. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So let's get to the first part. So this is our fully integrated Spectrum server with a PoE Plus switch built into it. So you can have a simpler, literal plug and play setup. It has 16 PoE ports. As we're going to talk about, it's going to support 24 channels and very versatile. I have already set a couple of these up, one for just demo in the building, tech support, and then the couple we've shipped to customers that calls come through to me about just one question on it. And I actually put that question information that I got from the one dealer as part of my presentation, just because they asked a question. It was something they were unfamiliar with. So certifications. So our products, we've gone through the line, and I think all of our products are pretty close. Maybe there might be one left. These are fully NDAA, TAA compliant. We support FAR. We support, of course, fully ONVIF conformant, thanks to the Spectrum software and the way we've built it. Full PoE Plus on the system itself. So there is a bunch of things. There are 4 camera licenses. We'll talk about that also later, built into it. Let's go to the specs. So if you notice the specs, Intel 12th gen processor on board. Display modes, because of Spectrum, unlimited, sequence, fully customizable. And some, I'll answer that at the end. So anyway, recommended video output is 1920 by 1080. It will do 4K, but we recommend using 1080p as the output. It makes the machine, when it's redrawing video, especially you have a lot of cameras up there, draw and play and back much faster. Built-in 8 gig of memory, and again, 802.3AF, which is PoE Plus, or 15 watts per port on the system. Video compression is H.264, H.265, and there's other codecs out there from other manufacturers that Spectrum also reads, Linux OS. And the OS is on an SSD inside the machine for greater performance, easier field service, a whole bunch of reasons. We have that in there. The recommendation is, though, to run this headless. So don't have a monitor plugged into it, or at least don't have the client running. This is designed to be a server, and you're using the client for setup. All right. Also has, we're going to talk about the Ethernet in a second, but it has 2 gigabit Ethernet ports. Again, the PoE has a built-in audio, up to 40 terabytes of storage, but that's right now. Okay, so right now the max is up to 40 terabytes. Keyboard and mouse is included, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff that's included. So here's a page from our quick start guide, broken down so it's easy to see on the screen. It gives you the default login for Spectrum and default login for the OS. Now, these things, of course, we recommend you change. We have items on here, paperwork on our tech support page that will tell you how to change it. It's very easy to do. Again, includes the mouse and keyboards, obviously a power cable, a short quick start guide, where this is part of. Comes with the rack mount ears. So again, we're encouraging you guys to rack mount it. And of course you can hook up a monitor to it, either one to the DVI or one to the HDMI port. And of course, we obviously recommend a good large UPS that'll at least run it for 30 minutes. And just excuse me 1 second. Something caught my eye here. Here we go. All right. And let's keep going. So if you notice, this is the back of the unit, and we actually have 3 network interfaces. So we've got the PoE network interface in 2 groups of 8. Okay, so that's 16 total. Where the little orange star is over here is the uplink port, and then this is your internet LAN corporate WAN port. So there's actually 3 total network interfaces on here. Here's sort of a blown up shot of the network interfaces here, DVI, HDMI, and of course your RS-485, and then your audio in for mic. I forget the color of these. It's like speaker headphone or something like that. I always forget these. And USB 3, okay, the fast USB, and then USB 2 for other peripherals. So you can plug keyboard and mouse into there. And then this can be for like the faster USB drives and stuff like that. So the front of the unit, I've got a little wireless mouse thing plugged into it that worked perfectly. These are your lights, and as you plug in cameras, you're going to see that these are the lights that are saying you got PoE. Okay, and that's the front of the unit. Very simple, very simple, straightforward. Tells you that the camera's powered up. All right, and we're going to talk more internally about what you can do with the PoE stuff in a few. But right now, let's talk about setting this up, because again, this is a Linux OS, and Linux OSs are a little different than Windows, but not really a lot different. So we've got these set up for our uplink port. These 2 things here are your 2 8 ports for PoE, and then this is your LAN WAN port, which right now I'm getting a DHCP address from, but you can also manually put in your IP address you want for talking to the rest of the network, your subnet mask, and your gateway, and then put your DNS in manually if you want. It's actually easier to find these menus than on a Windows 11 machine, and actually Windows 10. There are less mouse button clicks. Okay, so it's actually easier. You just, rather than being in the lower right-hand corner, right mouse button click, go to this menu, go to that menu, then you're there. It's click up top, go to settings, and you'll see the settings for it. So it's actually easier to do this stuff in Linux than in Windows. And again, it's just replaying to show you the different things you can do. So one of the other things on here is our IP finder. So this IP finder is also, you see the Spectrum icon, and you've got your, your Chrome browser. So when it's scanning right now, it's scanning the local network. And so I want to pause it right here because it might be hard for you to read. It's going to default to this 10.110.210.10. That's what we set the external PoE for internally for Spectrum. So that's Spectrum's IP to that PoE switch. Okay, but it'll also give you IP addresses 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and so on, up to the 24 cameras you plug in. So the cameras can be set to DHCP. We also, start at 10, so you could put different devices below this. Okay, and we can talk about that like an IP horn or something like that on 09. We'll just keep this going. So this is the IP finder, works the exact same way it does on the Windows side. So you see it's scanning the network, going out, looking at it, and saying we have our IP address, MAC address, and subnet mask, gateway, our version, which is our firmware version. You can ping, and then if you click this, it'll give you a choice whether you want to go to the camera's web page or whatever. So it works identically to what it does on the Windows client. So we'll go forward here, and we can go and change the codec on all the cameras. Let's say you got some older cameras or cameras, for some reason they're set at H.264. You want to get the better codec on them rather than going to the web page of each camera. You go and say codec H.265, and you change it all on the cameras. So you can bulk change them from here. You can also bulk change the date and time. I actually recommend you do this on any camera. You put the camera account, so the username and password to the camera, and then you change the date and time on all the cameras in bulk on the system. This is designed for our camera. It'll work with some that have full ONVIF compliance, but you can change the time zone, change the date and time, change even where they're pulling, it from, whether they're pulling it from a time server or from a local computer or wherever it's pulling the time from. You can change it here. So again, really makes it easier to set up. So one of the things you notice I did was I set the IP address. Now I'm going to go in and make the changes to the cameras before I go into Spectrum. So, got a couple more things we're doing here. We're going to go in and we're going to see the thumbnails from all the cameras. I can just see the thumbnails from the cameras. Go in, look at my firmware, IP addresses, make sure they're right. Then go into my other settings. This one, it's reporting back it was been up 66 days, 15 hours, and 52 minutes. Okay, so it'll report you when the camera's been up a while. You can also do a bulk firmware update. So this is supported on almost all of our cameras, but you can go in and click firmware update, go in and push the firmware to the cameras to update them quickly and easily. Again, rather than having to go to each camera's web page, you can push the update to it via this. So this is all, you're setting up while you're, finishing up your install, whatever. Now, this is the coolest thing. You can also do bulk IP assignments. So let's say you want to use a different IP range than what you're using, or you don't want to use the DHCP in there, although the DHCP, again, is limited to, I think we put about 50 addresses in the range. You can go in and set your own for it. But the IP finder works the same here as on Windows. So you can do bulk IP assignments and such. So let's talk cloud setup. So now you've got all your cameras set up, you're ready to go. So let's talk cloud. So let me just pause this 1 second. So this is under the assumption that you have a cloud account already set up. Now, I recommend you don't use personal email accounts on this, meaning it's Joe at, let's just say it's a liquor store, Bob's Liquor Store, or, whatever the operation might be. That's like even though it's a corporate address, it's also can be a personal address. I've seen people use a Gmail account and then the employee leave and they don't have any access to it. This was one of the things we talked about with the dealer who called up, and we said, create, if you're managing it for the customer, you can create an account within your your company. Again, I'll use, Bob's installation. So you have NVR info or NVR tech at Bob's installation, and you have 2 or 3 people monitoring it. Okay. Also, for greater security, you can have 2-factor authentication on this. If someone's trying to log in, they've got to authorize it by one of the authentication apps out there by Google and Microsoft and others. So again, just a recommendation here. We'll let this play now. Like I did, I created an account called DW Cloud 1 at dwcc.tv. And you see there's a little plus sign down there. You can click create account if you didn't have one. And you creates the account in about a minute. You're ready. You get an email, you activate it. Password, log in. And now the system is connected to the cloud portal. And if you look, it's asked for the local admin account. So again, you type in the admin username and password to authorize it on this machine. And now we've added to the cloud. It's added some users. It's detected some other systems. And now we're connected to the DW cloud, and you can open the cloud portal from here. You can actually go up to here on the client and do it. So in Spectrum, now that we've got it attached to the cloud, and again, it's one of these ones I'm going to pause here. You can go in and see your local LAN. Okay, so that's it communicating on the LAN. This is its WAN address or internet address. And here's the camera address. So again, that 10.110.210.10 address. And then these are the communications to the cloud. Excuse me, my phone keeps beeping. Sorry about that. So you can see, you can get over here. This might be a little hard to see. Someone with a smaller screen will have it recorded. So we can see our connections. We can actually disable these if we want, but of course, then someone might not be able to get to them from the outside. But you can disable remote connections from these. So again, in Spectrum, you can see the whole, network interface. So if you notice that 10.110.210.10, you have a couple of IP addresses below that. Or let's say you wanted to add an illuminator, maybe another switch or whatever, you can go in and use .9, .8, .7 for those. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling here. So with the cloud connection, it'll bring you to your cloud dashboard. So it's going to ask you for the password. And again, if you have two-factor authentication, it'll ask you on your phone if you want to do it. I'm going to save the password because I'm lazy. And then it'll show you the systems you have connected to the cloud. And I've got the BJ CX system in there. I've got a Tampa demo in there. I've got a test system in there. And so that's your dashboard, but you can have as many systems as you want attached to your cloud account and your cloud dashboard. Okay. And when we go in and click on one of those, click the CX, and we're going to see our settings. And we can do almost all the setup that you can from the client locally on the machine here. We can activate, deactivate licenses. All right. We can check on our cameras. Okay. Change the credentials. And if we scroll down here, we can even set the motion areas in the camera when using the motion detection recording. Okay. So almost everything can be done in the cloud. So now, again, you're managing something for your customer. They're saying, hey, I don't think that camera's recording right or whatever. You don't have to log in with the fact client. You can log in with your cloud account and go in and look at that. Look at the camera, look at the motion areas, look at, maybe licensing, maybe rotation. Does the camera have audio on it? You enable the audio, or maybe someone went in and disabled the audio. So you can do almost, I think, everything from the cloud for as far as managing the systems and seeing the system's health and things like that. So this is now detailed info. So now we can go into detailed info on the camera, and we're just going to pause this because it's saying this one, see, had a couple problems, like it, dropped a stream or dropped frame. See, camera hasn't been offline, but the stream, they might have lost some packets. Its resolution, 4K, 15 frames a second. There's its bit rate. It's got its second stream and, storage analytics and things like that. So you can go in here and get some real detailed info about the different cameras on the system, what's going on with them. But so you can get detailed stuff like, storage locations, network interfaces, stuff like that. I'm going to show you again. So this is all, again, on a Linux box, embedded PoE, everything, and it works identically to what you would expect. We even have in the web browser, you can do live view and playback. So it works similar timeline to the fact client, but this is the one part where you'd use the regular client, live view, playback, smart search, all this stuff. This is just to take a look at the camera, take a look at the recording timeline, see if it's doing what you want it to do, and things like that. So this is an important part of it, because some people just want people to do live view and they can do it here, but it is only one camera at a time. So again, more for setup, but it is lightweight, runs in Chrome. All right. Now we also have a health monitor, and this health monitor is available on the Windows client, obviously on the Linux client, because that's what I'm using, and the Apple client. So you can just drag it over and you can see what is, RAM utilization, CPU utilization, and network utilization, all on here from all your different network interfaces. If I just roll this back just a hair, see, you got your network interfaces here, because it actually reports them as 5 network interfaces, because you've got the two, got the uplink port, and you've got the two, 2 groups of 8 for your PoE ports. You got your CPU, RAM, your drives in there, and it's reporting the utilization of them. Let's see. This thing's supposed to jump forward. Come on, jump forward. So you can also add devices to the system. So let's say you've got a camera on a DSL line somewhere. As long as you know the IP, the ports are open, the username and password, you can have the system connect to it. So this would be going over the LAN port, the internet port, and we can go in and do it. It's also things that might be across a VPN. Okay. You know, you're ping and things like that. So a very good setup for adding another camera that might be somewhere else that's not available to plug into the PoE switch on the back. So web pages in Spectrum. So again, we're using Spectrum. We can proxy in web pages from different devices, from cameras, PoE switch, web-based access control, anything web-based, we can proxy in those web pages and view them in the same window we would view a camera in Spectrum. So again, no loss of functionality because we're using Linux versus Windows. System storage, some of you guys haven't seen this. This is administrative, but system storage, we actually can view the storage, can even auto detect USB cameras. You can look at where your storage at, what it's being used for, but also we have storage analytics. And then you can forecast for full storage. So let's say, oh, I need a year's worth of storage. How much more storage do I need? I'm going to go look. I need a year. How do I need? I need another, what is that? It's a year and 3 months. I'll crank it back a little bit. It's probably like, there we go, 13.6 terabytes to forecast to give us a full year from these 3 cameras. So it's like 20 terabytes the way we have them configured for these cameras. Now we can go in and look at their bit rate and stuff like that and let the thing record at different frame rates, and then it will give us a different forecast. So it's a really good forecasting tool built into it, but it's built into it. You can go in and look at it. Customer has a request, you can take care of it. Motion detection setup is the same. We have this one recording continuous plus motion. I can go in, I can say, okay, I don't want this thing to record anything that's going on at the top of this because it's, you know, don't care about what's going on in the sky or trees or whatever, you know. And I can create another area that's also zero motion or maybe less, you know, less sensitivity, make it a 1 or 2, you know, don't care if there's something going on there, don't care if there's something going on in those trees. So again, I can make these no motion areas, or I can take certain areas and increase them. Of course, we've got our de-warping, the advanced functionality. We can change your frame rate and bit rate from here. We can log into the web page of the IP camera, get into setup. So every functionality that you know from Spectrum works in the Linux client. All right. Video analytics. We have cameras that have video analytics built into them. And we released several at the show too. But the Blackjack CX can receive the data and use it for activating devices like turning on an illuminator or sending out a notification or warning or whatever. And what's coming from our cameras and, you know, other manufacturers' cameras that have analytics is called metadata. And we're reading the metadata and then having the system react to it. Might be as simple as sending out a notification or making a screen pop up. But the CX works the same way as, again, the Spectrum that you're used to running in Windows. So there's also utility software. So there's PoE utility in here, and you launch it and you can control the PoE switch. So you can turn on and off a port. You got a camera acting up. You can see the power consumption. Okay, I've got the one camera plugged in. It's going to show the power consumption. I can reset all ports. And again, I said there's 2 groups of 8. So you got your different groups on here. You can just turn off one. You can see that what was the max draw was at one point and its current draw. So you can get information from the switch in there as far as PoE goes. So a good utility for Spectrum. So Spectrum software, all the other stuff also works the same. So if you go in and you draw boxes for your Zoom windows or your region of interest, you can go in and use those just the same way. They work on live view and playback. So that again will be identical to the end user, whether they learned it on the box, the CX box, and then they installed client on their Windows machine or their Macs, it translates 100%. The keys strokes are the same. All the menus are in the same place. So it makes a lot easier to learn. The learning curve on the Spectrum software is, excellent. Now, of course, we also have our playback and our smart search. So this is just smart search in here. We can go in, open up, find a motion event. I'm looking for a motion event on here. And then we zoom in a little bit so we can then go in and find that proper motion event. I think I did that truck. And then we zoom in on the timeline. And I'm going to take a couple seconds before and a couple seconds after, right mouse button click, export video. If I had a USB drive in here, when I click browse, it will show up as a USB storage. But if not, you can drop it to the desktop, drop it wherever you want. And then you can go in, type the name of it. And if it's MP4, it'd be saved in MP4 format and be given over to someone that has an Apple computer or Windows computer, whatever it pays up. It also does AVIs. And we also have the native format, which is NOV, which can be played on anything running the Spectrum client. So what are the model numbers? Model numbers, we've got an 8 terabyte unit, 16 terabyte unit, 24 terabyte unit, 32 terabyte, and right now 40 terabytes of storage. Probably add some more in the future as drives go up and stuff like that. And those are the part numbers there you can order. Now, the one optional piece is the wall mount bracket. So you can actually mount this system on a wall or get it up out of the way. They don't have a shelf, they don't have a rack, whatever. Those are optional wall mount brackets. I don't think they're that much money. So you can go order those separately. But the ears, the rack mount ears come with it. So let's do a little housekeeping and then I'll answer some questions. So one is, we want you guys to join our CPP program, okay? CPP program has a whole bunch of features to it. But the biggest feature is the DW Double Down program, okay? So if you go to portal.digital-watchdog.com, you should be able to find sign up and go sign up. The Double Down program is as you purchase digital Watchdog cameras, you can get licenses to go along with them. So you can get free or super discounted licenses, depending on what you purchased. But the other things is we have enhanced margins to our project pricing. We give you project design support, demo support, which means we can get you lower cost demos. If you're selling a lot of gear, I don't know the threshold, it's not super a lot. You can get extended warranty, so you can go from a 5-year warranty on a camera to a 6. We have an advanced replacement program. We have our DWU. You can sign up for those things online. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We also have co-marketing support. So if you're going to a trade show, we have marketing support for you. We have, again, demo deer discount, priority technical support, and our knowledge base on our website you'll have access to. So now we also have our, again, the URLs at the bottom. We have our online learning program. We've got a spot where you can just go in and look at the videos. If you just want to see specifically the webinars like this one, click on there. We have our case studies, which are viewable on the web page and downloadable, and then a resource library. Looking for specific things like I need a Mac version of Spectrum 4.2. This is where you go find it in the resource library, or you need a paperwork or an A&E spec or something like that. It's got a search engine in it, allows you to do it. So now our different promotions. This is a good one, and this coincides, by the way, with the CX, because you're going to go out and have your CX, and customers going to have some analog cameras that maybe they just don't quite want to let go of. This you could actually plug into that extra uplink port, and they could plug in and do 16 analog cameras on it, or they have 5 analog cameras left at the site. You get 5 of those, but you get the 16 licenses, which is like $600 of licenses with these, which are already discounted. So it's actually good. There's 2, you wind up with 2U. You can plug in some new cameras that are super high megapixel and then run their old analog cameras up to 2 megapixel AHD cameras, by the way, this one supports. So again, it's a nice form factor. They're both 1U. They'll, fit together. You can set it up so again, you can log into this thing. If you have to make an adjustment to the analog cameras, you can use the web page thing, log into the web page of the compressor and go in and view it. And then we've got, again, going back to the video analytics, the Spectrum supports our the Spectrum in the CX, which is our Linux version of Spectrum, supports video analytics, and we've got some video analytic cameras on special. These are real small. There's some 2.8s, 4mm, 6mm lens with IVA Plus, which has logical rules and a bunch of other ones. And then the standard analytics are in a 6 and 4mm lens in a very small size, and you can order these covers. You can snap on them or paint them and then snap it on them so they blend in better with the background. I don't know why they chose baby blue. Who paints their walls baby blue? But anyway, allows you to blend in a little better. So let's go to our Q&A and let's see some questions.